All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the SHIPIT Nation MMA podcast. I'm here with Sheets this time. Title went on vacation for a China card and left me with all these names to try and pronounce. But we're going to do our best, but I'm glad that we got Sheets here to bounce some ideas off of. I think it's a really tough card. I'm definitely going to target the main event heavily, but I'm hoping you can talk me into some less chalky spots than I'm thinking originally. But how you feeling tonight, Sheets?
Good. Well, first of all, I mean, let's really think about what's important here is the start time. So it's 3 a.m. Eastern time, like Saturday. So yeah. It's basically midnight Friday into Saturday Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern. So like the main card is like 5:30. So you're going to actually have, double action between, League of Legends from China and MMA from China, like all probably going at the same time. It's definitely, challenges the DFS player in a lot of different ways. And I'm wondering if there's going to be even extra ownership to the later fights. Okay. Because I think I don't know how people's sleep schedule works. Like in the poker world, people would stay up till like 5 a.m. You know what I mean? I think that in DFS world, people are a little bit more mature. I think there's a better chance than maybe them getting up at 5:30 in the morning than staying up till 5:30. So if people get up at 5:30, they'll at least be able to get up for the main card. So I'm tempted to think that all else being equal, the main card is probably going to be even higher owned than it would have been otherwise. And we already have 2 5-round fights. Okay, so that's for openers. And the other thing I would say about this type of card, 2 things. Number one, whenever you have fighters that very few people have heard of, there's always a lot of variance in those fights, okay? Just because nobody knows. Listen, the odds are what they are, but there's just a lot of variance in them, which means that in GPPs, you're probably going to have to play it, okay? And the other thing to think about as far as that goes is variance goes both ways. It's not just, okay, a minus 200 favorite might actually be pick'em. It also could mean that a minus 200 favorite could look like they're minus 900, okay? So variance with these unknowns kind of goes a lot of different ways. And then my last bit about that is if you do find guys that people have heard of that have played before, those guys are going to be even higher owned than they would have been otherwise. Like you look at some of these guys. I mean, we've played Pavlovich and Cortez-Acosta before. We've all the main event, obviously Sterling and Ortega. We've played them a zillion times. We've even played Sumudargi and Borhas. So these guys, whatever they would be otherwise, I think they're going to be higher owned anyway because there's a little bit of comfort level in at least knowing what you're getting with these guys.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, people want to sweat their action, so wake up at 5 o'clock and then get to see it. Yeah, I didn't think about any of that stuff yet. I kind of ran through a quick ownership before we got on. I got a lot to do with it still. But yeah, we haven't even gotten to the card yet, and you already got me thinking about stuff. So this should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. You want to get right into it?
I will say that I do have, and I don't do takes too much, but I have a couple of guys. I have a couple of stands that I want to make that we'll get to that. I know people might not like, but who cares? We'll get to
okay.
it. Right,
I don't really have too many stands. I might have some anti-stands, but
right.
You might be able to guess them as we go along. But I do like this first fight of the night quite a bit for DFS, more so because I don't really trust either side of it. But here we go with the names. Uran Satibaldev against Dayar Nurgozhin.
Of course. How else would you pronounce them?
Right? I don't know. We need title here. I would like to hear how he said it. I usually say say whatever he says, and then that way, if someone wants to say anything in the comments, I can say, well, his title's full.
I just want to make sure to not get canceled after this. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to make sure I don't say anything stupid.
That's true. That's true. But we got, wow, is the line 145 on this? This was a lot wider earlier in the week when I did this one. Satibaldev, I want to say, was like over minus 200. Now he is minus 130 on some sites against a plus 110 for Nurgozhin. And then we don't have an ITD line on this one yet, but we do have an under 2.5 sitting at Pick'em minus 115 both ways. And I think this one is close because either one of them could score well with a finish, and it could be a knockout on the feet because they are, I'd say, both okay strikers, and they're both hittable at the same time. But I think that if one of them gets a takedown and gets into top control, it could be over from there. I think it could be a ground and pound stoppage from either one, just because they're both big guys and they're also both unproven as well. If we get a 15-minute striking match, I don't want anything to do with this fight, but I'm going to play it more based on the ITD line, so I'll wait for that to come out. But I'm expecting a stoppage on either side of this one. With the new line at minus 145, I would guess that Satibaldev is going to be low owned at that line, and then Nurgozhin is going to be pretty chalky. So I'm going to go the opposite way on this one. I like Satibaldev as the lower owned one. I think he can get the takedown. I think he has the crisper hands against Nurgozhin's kicks, and then it's just whoever can get the takedowns. I think Satibaldev is just a little bit scarier with his ground and pound, so I'm leaning with him as my pick, but both of them are good DFS plays. What are you thinking on this one?
Well, the fact that you had actual like substantive takes on these guys is actually quite amazing. You know, I have to be honest, you know, when I was going through this stuff and I'm looking at the guys and I'm going through the numbers, and usually what I'll do before I start thinking of stuff, I'll tune into your show to see what you think before I even think about it. Now I'm on the show with you. I was hoping you'd give me some like insight into what these guys can do actually, because based on the numbers, I mean, like you said, I mean, you have a minus 140 guy who's now 8,700, you know, so you're going to get some really good money line value on the other side of this. But remember, this is only a 12 fight card. When I say only 12 fights, so it's 12 fights, but 2 5-rounders, you know, so you got 2 5-rounders. It's going to just like eat up like all this ownership, and probably for good reason, both for different reasons. And you know, you got to start thinking about getting off the board a little bit. So what did we talk about beforehand? Well, the guys that you don't know, probably, you know, you'll get a little bit more variance and you probably should play them. So that argues in favor of playing this fight. Second of all, we talked about maybe this first fight of the night at 3 a.m, nobody wants any part of either. Okay. So maybe the fight in and of itself is going to be low owned. So you put all that together, you get variance with guys you've never heard of, variance you guys you can't pronounce, variance with guys that are in the first fight of the night. And then you get this weird little, you know, anti-money line play. I'm kind of with you, you know, without even knowing what these guys could do. That you play kind of like the bad $8,700 guy minus, you know, who's only minus 140 or something like that. And just kind of hope the variance is in your favor and you get off to a good start. So I kind of like it. I like the Uran side of this of this fight for all the contrarian reasons I just mentioned.
Solid. Yeah, and I mean, if the line keeps changing and it moves to that it's supposed to go the distance, then I'm going to have a lot less interest. But I feel like the line will be, you know, minus 185 to be inside the distance. And aside that, I just don't feel good about either one of them. I don't really trust either guy. I don't even know if they're UFC level. That's just something I want to target against. Not really I'm targeting either one of these guys. I'm just targeting against both of them. So I'll get exposure to both of them, but let me go against the grain and I'll take the $8,700 guy instead.
Yeah.
The next one I think is another tricky fight. We have Su-Young Yu at minus 130 against Zhao Long at plus 110. I think that Yu is just going to be the much better wrestler in this one. He's going to be able to dictate where the fight takes place. That's really all he likes to do is get takedowns and try and keep top control for as long as he can. But he's not very active when he does get takedowns, which we like to see from guys like a Fluffy or a Marab. He is not that. He is a get the takedown and try and hold that position for as long as he can, work his way to a more dominant position. But he's got 19 takedowns in his 4 fights in the octagon. 2 of those are road to UFC fights, but he's only averaging, I want to say right around 80 points. He got 88 in his last fight where he had 5 takedowns, 74 in the fight before that. He had 2 takedowns. But I think if this one goes the distance, it's probably him getting takedowns, controlling the fight, and getting a win around that range again. And if there's a finish, I think it's going to be on the long side. He is going to be the better striker, in my opinion, and I also think he's more dangerous with his submissions. I just don't feel good about him getting a submission off his back when Yu's the one getting the takedowns, controlling where the fight is. So I'm going to pick Yu to get the win. But this could be one where I get more exposure to Long just because he's $400 cheaper. And if he can't get that, I mean, if you can't get the takedowns, I think he could be in trouble here. Long is the more exciting fighter. But at the same time, somebody who's always going for takedowns against a fairly dangerous submission guy, it puts him in danger throughout the whole fight. So maybe my preferred play will end up being Long on this one, but I'd like to hear what you have to say on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that, see how this develops, because when I first looked at this, I said, you know what, both these fighters are plus 400 inside the distance. You know, like Zhao and it says Young Liu are both like plus 415, at least according to Fight Odds. I don't know if that's updated or whatever. So I was wondering like which one of these guys has to be a grappler, right? So at least the young Wu side, he could probably get some upside with his grappling. I don't know about the Zhao Long side. You know, like right now I see the plus 415. Maybe that changes, but I can't play a guy who's going to be on his back at all at a plus 415 inside the distance. So I'm gonna watch that, and I just wonder again that this young Yu play is going to get like too much steam. You know, like because like you said, you know, he has 5 takedowns and it's a mid-range fight, and he's just going to get jammed. You know, so he certainly in cash or in low risk is going to be the better play because you know what, he's got the takedown upside, like you said. And it's a mid-range fight. Is it actually 83.79? Yeah, it's 83.79. So he's going to be pretty popular. I don't know if I have it in me to leverage against it though without a little more information on Long, because that inside the distance line is a little light for me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot of film on really any of these fights, to be honest with you, but I was just more impressed on the Long side. But it's hard for this specific matchup to see him have a lot of success when the other guy only wants to do one thing, and he's pretty good at doing that one thing. So
yeah,
I'll just be taking both shots on both sides. But if Yu is going to be more owned, then that makes me like Long just that much more for DFS.
Yep.
Next one, we have Yeiza coming in at 9,900. He is minus 1,200 on the betting line against Weston Wilson, plus 700. I don't know if we've ever seen a $9,900 fighter. And it's probably going to be priced out of most of my lineups. I don't know how many dogs I want to get to that'll allow me to get to him and the other favorites that I like on this card. But it does look like a pretty easy match for Yeiza. He's just a well-rounded fighter, whereas Wilson is submission or bust. He has dangerous submission skills when the fight is on the ground, but he has no striking, and he also doesn't have wrestling to dictate where the fight is going to take place. So he has to land some wild submission or grab a leg or an ankle and take it from there. But Yeiza's a good submission artist too, and I think he could submit Wilson. I think he could knock out Wilson. My worry with him would be that he's just worried about going to the ground with Wilson, and if the TKO doesn't come or if it takes too long, then there's no way he's paying off 9,900. I have a hard time seeing him paying off that price tag either way, so I'm just not super interested, but I do think it's a clear win for him. It could be a finish on the feet, finish on the ground, or just a clear 30-27. But do you have any interest in this one?
I suggested a few weeks ago, there was a guy who was, I think, 9,800 a few weeks ago, maybe. I forget.
Yeah, I've seen that. I remember 98s.
There was another 97 and 98. And when I was doing a video, I was suggesting the theory that nobody can ever be 9,800, regardless of what the matchup is and who you're fighting. Like I was making the case that if like John Jones was fighting me, like I wouldn't pay 9,800. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because like the only way really that 9,800 wins a slate is either you get the first, I mean, you need the quick win bonus, I think, for openers, or a card with just so many underdogs that look good, that it doesn't matter what your price is. But I don't think that's this card, so I don't care what his inside the distance line is. Even if you told me he was going to win in the first round, I probably still wouldn't want him, because it's not just, and we'll talk about it when you get to Mingyang like later, you know what I mean? But there's two types of, well, not two types of fighters, plenty of types of fighters, but some guys can, in the first round knockouts, can score 104, and some guys in first round knockouts can score 134. You know what I mean? And you need more like the 134 at 9,900. That's just the way it is. So I can't imagine him. And there's so many ways he could bust. Like Weston Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, in his last fight, like you said, did he get a first round sub or something like that? I mean, It's obviously that's what he's going to try to do, right? Because his last three, he's got his last 5, 6, 7, like all of his wins, right, are by sub. So, okay, maybe he's not great, but he's 36 years old. He's been around the block. You know what he's going to try to do. And it's probably the other guy's probably not stupid either. He knows the guy's going to try to do that also. So I think that maybe he goes on the ground, maybe he, does that thing where he just just literally lays on the ground to try to challenge him to get into a grappling thing. And all that while the clock is just ticking, So I think the clock will be ticking away on the people that pay 9,900. So I'm not going to be interested probably in this fight at all.
Yeah, I think, you sold me. I'm just going to X him out 9,900. I mean, he's not going to go out there and put up 10 plus takedowns against a submission artist. No. So you're really playing for the quick win bonus. And even if he gets the quick win bonus at 9,900, I don't know that he's a lock for the optimal lineup on this card.
Quick win's tough though. That's like 120 right off the bat, right? I mean,
it is tough, but at 9,900, you still need a lot to go your way. So
you know what will end up happening? You'll end up having, you'll end up playing him. He'll get 127 points or something, and then next thing you know, you'll be waiting. And I need now Ortega and Walker back to back, or something like that, and that'll even be duped like 80 times, So it's gonna be tough to get there.
Yeah, I like it. I'm just gonna X them out, make it a little easier for myself. I don't plan on making mini lineups for this one. I'm not waking up at 3:00. We're actually going up to Michigan for the little SHIPIT get together. Nice. I'm gonna be going to the golf course that Saturday. There's no way I'm waking up at 3:00 to watch this card. So I'll just have a couple lineups personally. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend anyways. Next one on the card, we have Michel Pereira minus 260 against Kyle Dawkins plus 220. Dawkins is making his return after being cut from the UFC. He got a couple of knockout losses back to back. And then Pereira's coming off back-to-back losses too. I mean, one's against Fluffy Hernandez. Can't blame him for that one. Fluffy's going to beat pretty much anybody but Chimaev possibly. And then his last fight against Abus Magomedov was just such a poor performance. He just didn't even show up. So I don't know what to expect from Pereira, but I know that I would not be laying minus 260 on him just because I have no trust at all in him, just period, after his last fight. He's a hard guy to trust in general. Just his wild moves that he kind of came into the UFC with, but he does have power. Dawkins has a questionable chin, so he's in play for the knockout. He could also land takedowns throughout this fight, but I just don't think that's going to be his game plan, and he would be putting himself in trouble because Dawkins is the grappler in this fight. If Dawkins is going to win, it's going to have to come through takedowns, and it could be a submission that way, or he could possibly grind out 2 rounds on the ground, maybe even win one on the feet if Pereira's going to come out like he did in his last fight. I mean, Dawkins could definitely hang with him on the feet if he's not going to do anything. But my preferred play is just going to be the underdog at 7K. I think Dawkins could break this slate. If he's able to get a first-round takedown, I think he could work his way into a Darce choke, choke Pereira out in round 1, get a 95-pointer in the prelims, and you're sitting pretty. So my preferred play is going to be Dawkins in this one. But I do want some Pereira exposure as well if I'm going to be putting MME lineups into this slate. I doubt that I am, so it's probably Dawkins or pass for me personally. But do you have a stand in this one?
Who was the guy that had the brain injury? Was that him or somebody else? Pereira. I get confused.
Nah, not him.
If it was Vera, I get them confused.
I don't know.
So Michel Pereira, I mean, he's going to be popular. Okay, he's got a minus 110 inside the distance line, I believe. And people have heard of him. He's got some highlight reel freaking finishes, whatever. And he's been fighting like they said, like the quote unquote better competition, right? And people look at that and they will look at it the same way that you just kind of did, because we're storytellers. Okay, Abus Malgamedov was a bad performance, but he's really good. And Fluffy Hernandez, that's no shame. Even though, I mean, you say it's no shame, he had like literally 30 seconds of activity in that fight. Okay, like he looked pretty good for like a half a round, which like everybody does against Fluffy, and then he was just destroyed. Okay, like I can't imagine him getting up after that fight like in fighting ever. Okay, so he goes back and he goes against Magomedov and he looked like awful. I think Pereira, because of all that, is going to be popular, and I have to say that I'm with you on this one. I do like the Dawkins side, and listen, this is like a little bit. I'm usually not a narrative-driven guy, but there are a couple of spots like that I just kind of feel like getting for this card. I mean, Dawkins was cut, right? And he went to other places or whatever, and now he's getting a shot to come back. I mean, they're both flying to freaking China for this. I mean, who's really motivated in this one? You got Pereira off of freaking 2 terrible losses. You know what I mean? And you got Dawkins, who's given a shot to come back and revitalize his freaking career. I mean, I prefer Dawkins too. I think he'll probably end up with the better cardio here also. And I'm with you. I like him. I like him in DFS. I like him betting. I like him everywhere.
Nice. I love to hear that. That'll. I mean, if I'm a single entry, how do I not put a guy named Kyle into it? So let's go, Kyle Dawkins. I hope he does get that Darce choke. All right, let's go. Next one we have Rong Zhu minus 252 against Austin Hubbard plus 212. This one's another one I'm just not super interested in because I think that Rong Zhu is just a little bit better everywhere, but Hubbard isn't bad anywhere. So I think he's going to be able to keep it close, and I just don't see any domination from the Rong Zhu side. He can land a couple takedowns as we go. He's an okay striker. I expect him to win 29-28, but that's just not going to cut it at 9,100. And then on the Hubbard side, he's not really bad at anything, but he's not really good at anything either. So he can maybe keep this fight close and contend for a possible 10x type of score. I would guess he doesn't even hit 10x in a win. I think it's more in the 60 range, but I don't want exposure to either one of these guys for that reason. I'm expecting a slower paced fight that mainly takes place on the feet. And I think that the favorite wins and just doesn't score enough. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Hubbard just, he's UFC vet, puts up a lot of decisions, same thing. Hey, I got to fight for you. Oh, yeah, where are you? Just fly out to freaking China. He's like, really? He's like, well, that's what I got for you. And then you got Rong Zhu, who just like, this is like his life. You know what I mean? Like, he's 21 years old. He's fought like 100 times already. You know what I mean? Like he's in front of his, again, I don't want to get canceled. I presume these are his home fans. Okay. I'm not sure whether he's from China or Japan or whatever, but the fact is they're going to all be rooting for him. And I just like to think that he's going to come out with more energy than Hubbard. He's going to have more motivation than Hubbard. He's going to have more aggression than Hubbard. And I got better underdogs to play than Hubbard, honestly. But to your point, I mean, 9,100, that's rough business for him. I mean, he's not really much of a finisher. I mean, but look, when we get to playing GPP stuff, I mean, obviously he'll be low owned, and maybe he'll get to some of it. But again, this is a kind of a fade. If anybody, I would actually take a shot at Zhu Rong. I would not want to take Hubbard as the underdog here.
Solid. Yeah, I mean, I think the 2-star is about right on this one. It's just not one I'm looking to target, but it's also not a 1-star where I just absolutely wouldn't play either side. I think they're both in play. You can make an excuse for either one, but I just think there's better plays on this card. Next one, we have Lonnie Kavanaugh minus 190 against Charles Johnson plus 165. And this is going to be a dog or pass for me because Kavanaugh is just not a high enough paced fighter. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's a really good prospect. He's got really good striking. He's got power in his hands. And we saw him mix in some wrestling in his last fight too, which was good to see. And I think he should do that again in this fight against Charles Johnson. But I just don't think he's going to knock out Charles Johnson. And he's also not a high volume striker. I think Charles Johnson can be a high volume striker. He could beat him there. And if Kavanaugh's not going for takedowns, I just think this is going to be close to a 50-50 type of fight where we're not even going to know who the judges are going to read off after they give that split decision. So my preferred play is going to be Johnson, but it's another one where I don't think he's got a big ceiling. He's probably playing for 70 to 80, in my opinion. I feel like he always wants to drop the first round, so we're getting all our points in the second and the third. But on this card, I'm interested in any underdog that I think is viable to win. So I'll get some Johnson exposure. I will X out Kavanaugh personally because I'm not going to have enough lineups on this card. But I think this will be a fun fight and maybe a contender for a fight of the night.
Yeah, you're not going to – I mean, if what's his name? If Kavanaugh drops the first round, that's bad news because for him, because Charles Johnson, he's got second and third round cardio. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's going to be Kavanaugh's path to get off to a slow start. I fear that Johnson is going to be a little too popular. Okay. You have that win on his record where he freaking knocked out Josh Van, and Joshua Van could be like the best fighter in the universe right now, you know, depending on who you ask. And people are going to see that, and they love playing Charles Johnson for good reason. I mean, he always, as what's his name, the title says, you know, he'll fight for your dollar, right? He'll never gives up. He looks like he was dead a couple of fights ago, and he came back to win that one too. So I think, like you said, fight of the night. I think it's going to be a very, very good fight. You know, you have some pretty good opponents for Kavanaugh. Who listen, Jose Ochoa, that's a pretty good win. You know, Felipe Desant's a pretty good one. I think it's going to be a nice striking based fight where the winner is really psyched to win and score 70 points. So I'm probably going to be under on this. Now, with that said, these mid-range fights can be very, very nasty to fade, you know, in DFS. So if I get to them, I'll get to them, but I would rather not. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough. I really want to know what you have to think on this next one because I have no lean either way. We have Gage Young at -115 against Maheshate at -105. This is our mid-range fight of the morning, 8,200 versus 8K. And I just think it's a pick 'em fight like the line indicates. I give Maheshate the edge with his boxing. I think he has the better hands. I also think he has more knockout power in his hands. But at the same time, he's more hittable and he's less durable. So I just think this is going to be a striking match where either guy could get knocked out and we get big points that way. But if there is no knockout, then I don't expect many takedowns throughout the fight. And I don't expect it to be a high scoring 15-minute striking match. So I don't know what I want to do with this one. So you could really sell me any way.
I got something for you here.
Okay.
I got something for you. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So here's the analysis. The Maheshate sucks. Okay. He had that insane win over Steve Garcia, which God knows how that ever happened. Okay. And then he's a striker and he's never impressed me ever. I think his best fight might have been the loss to Mota, because I think Mota is actually really good. But Gage Young, all right. So here's the information. So he fought Evan Elder, and first of all, obviously Young is always going to lose to his elders. Okay, so that's obviously the case. Okay, elders always beat Youngs. But the other thing is that he's actually a training partner, or maybe Elder's student actually, and he took that fight against Elder on like 2 hours notice or something like that, and he actually hung in there kind of okay. I think that Gage Young is someone I really want to target here, and I don't know what his upside really is, but I just think that his win chances are just a lot better than they're giving him at pick'em here. So I like Gage Young here. Maybe he's got takedowns in his arsenal somewhere. You know, listen, he lost a decision to Swinton Salkeed, who's pretty good. So I don't know. I'm kind of down with this one. You have to take some shots somewhere, and I actually I'm going to be the anti-Maheshate guy here and go with Gage Young.
I like it. All right, I'm cool with that. And I usually feel like if I don't have a lean, I always just save the $200 and I go with the cheaper guy. But maybe that's what more people think anyways. And Gage Young, I don't think will be too owned on this card. So let's get it. Let's go Young. I'll change my pick on this one. I have no real play.
Why not?
All right, next one I do think will be a good DFS fight. We have, oh man, here we go. We're gonna call him Ty Lake Nuraji versus Kiefer Crosby. Nuraji is minus 470 against Crosby's plus 370, and this Nuraji guy's got 100% finish rate. All of his fights end inside the distance. He is an all-action type of fighter. Really, when you see fighters matched up against Crosby, you want them to be wrestlers or grapplers, because that's Crosby's biggest weakness, is being taken down and kind of looking like a fish a fish out of water off his back. But this Nuraji guy, I thought he looked more like a striker, and just a striker that is trying to go for the kill, but he could also leave himself open for the kill. And that puts Crosby in play on this card, where I don't think he's going to have any ownership, 10%, sub 10%. I am interested in a little bit of Crosby, but at the same time, everybody's going to like Nuraji. I'm picking Nuraji to win just because Crosby's not very good. And I think this fight's in China. They probably are wanting this Nuraji guy to get his hand raised here. So he is my pick. I think he's going to get the TKO. But leverage-wise, I just don't know how I'm going to get that much leverage over the field when he's going to be a popular play on this card, and Crosby will be unowned. Do you have you thinking the same way at all?
I wasn't, but I'm down now. I didn't really think of it that way, and what I did think of is, Nuraji has a huge inside the distance line, whatever. But I didn't even consider what I usually consider is, okay, the guys are going to look really good. Why don't you think about who their opponent is? And like you mentioned, if Nuraji's like an all action guy and Crosby, if Crosby wins the fight, it's not going to be because, the Chinese judges gave him the victory. You know what I mean? Like he said, there's no way it's going to work that way. If he does win, it's going to be by some flash KO or weird finish. And if Nuraji is the one of these favorites that gets the juice, you know what I mean? Then you're going to be looking for leverage. And listen, it's going to be one of those where if I'm playing 20 max and whatever, I'm not going to force Crosby in. But let's just say that if I play GPPs and I get a bunch of them, I'm not going to be particularly upset.
Yeah, I don't know that he's like super live in this matchup, but when I was watching Nuraji, he just didn't strike me as someone special, and I kind of figured you're going to give this Crosby matchup to somebody who looks pretty good, and this guy took the fight on late notice. It wasn't even Crosby's original matchup, so I'm not sure how he got this spot and why he's such a big favorite. I think it's people betting against Crosby rather than betting on Nuraji. So for DFS purposes, I'm okay going against the grain and getting a little bit more exposure than the field on the Crosby side, but I think this one ends early either way. So I'm expecting a high score on the winner side. Next one, I think, will be one of the more fun fights of the night. We have, oh man, I always can't get this guy's name. Sumudargi.
This is one of the easy ones. Like Sumudargi is like that's one of the easier ones, I think.
It's looking at it is what throws me off. Right, if I just think Sumudargi, I'm fine, but looking at it throws me off. But he is minus 165 against Kevin Borhas. He is plus 145, and I'm expecting a striking match in this one. A fairly high-paced striking match, but both guys can be dangerous. I don't know how dangerous Borhas's hands are, but I think he could knock out Sumudargi. But this is like my first or second, most exciting striking matches on the card. If you're not counting the main event, I don't think that one will last very long. And I could see this one going either way, but for DFS purposes, I would much rather have that $800 for the Borhas side. I am picking Sumudargi to get the win because I've just seen more from him. I think he is the more impressive striker. I think he's more dangerous as well. But at $8,500 from a striker, you have to get the knockout from him because he's not going to be going for takedowns. And I just don't think he's going to get enough points in a 15-minute striking match. So I would rather take my chances on the Borhas. But to me, he's similar to a Charles Johnson, or they're the same exact type of fighter. If they win, it's probably a 15-minute striking match where the judges give it to them and they score, right around the 70s, somewhere around there. So I don't really have between those two underdogs, I don't even have a preferred play. I would guess I'd say Johnson because I'm actually picking him to win. But I just think this will be a fun fight that the judges could give to the underdog.
Yeah, that's cool, because for those of you who don't know, I mean, we don't talk about these fights beforehand, and so I didn't know where you were going to go with this, and I really had this question prepared after you went through this. I was going to say, like, rank, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, like Sumudargi, Borhas, Kavanaugh, Johnson. You know what I mean? Because it's the same fight as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You have two kind of sort of well-known underdogs in Borhas, and again, Borhas had a good fight against Joshua Van, again, by the way, before he got finished later, I think. How would you rank like all four of those? Now you could play them all, whatever, but well, you can't play all of them. But how would you rank Sumudargi, Borhas, Kavanaugh, Johnson?
So I'm thinking Johnson first, and then I'll go Borhas second. I'm just not going to be playing the favorites personally because I'm not going to have enough lineups. But I would go Sumudargi third, Kavanaugh fourth.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and I think both Borhas and Johnson are going to be popular underdogs. So even if you play them, I think that you want to play Borhas and Johnson with like, it's when maybe you get lucky with your who's the flash knockout guy, Kiefer Crosby or something like that, and then you can play big favorites like for the rest of the day or something like that.
Yeah,
but I think Borhas again, like upside, not so much, but. Is it good enough? What is he, 7,600? What is he? I mean, is that good enough? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. But he's definitely going to be very playable in low-risk stuff. And I'm probably not going to get too much of Sumudargi, actually.
I think it's going to be a better fight to watch than it is for DFS. But any live dog, I'm interested on this card. All right, next one we have Sergey Pavlovich coming in as a minus 225 favorite against Waldo Cortez-Acosta plus 190. And this is going to be one of my hot takes. I don't know how hot it is if people have watched me before because I pretty much always fade Pavlovich. I do think he is one of the scariest strikers in the UFC. He has, I'd say, the most one-punch power in the entire UFC organization. But if that one punch doesn't land, I don't think he has many paths to victory against high volume strikers or people who can wrestle. And I do think that Cortez-Acosta is a high volume striker where I just have a hard time seeing Pavlovich beat him in a 3-round striking match. I wouldn't say it's knockout or bust because he could win a striking match, but I'd prefer the underdog if I knew this one was going to go the distance. And I don't expect to see takedowns really from either side. Maybe Pavlovich after his last performance, but I wasn't expecting it then. I'm not going to expect it now. Knockout from Pavlovich, that's the only way he gets on the optimal lineup, or Cortez-Acosta is one of those live underdogs who could score in the 70s, and that's what I'm going to pick to happen. Give me the underdog here.
All right, so one of the things I used to really hate about content, like when I was watching it as a user or whatever, is people, whoever was on, they would just end up agreeing with each other on like every freaking fight, every single play, every single pitcher. And if one guy really disagreed, they wouldn't even say like I disagreed. They would say, I could see that. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll get some of it in tournaments or something like that. It was a freaking joke, honestly. And one of the things I always liked about when you entitle is there's a little of that, honestly, but not as much as some of the others. So I want to say that because, and also to stress that we didn't talk about these fights beforehand. And I was preparing to come on in and like give this idea that I was going to get yelled at. And then you went and said this. So I'm just going to like, just say what I have to say. Like F Sergey Pavlovich, honestly, like seriously, like I don't want any part of this dude. And I say that with this background. I mean, when he knocked out Curtis Blades, I cashed for $84,000, okay, in UFC. I had both sides of that fight going into and I would have had the optimal if either one of them won. But the Pavlovich side got me more. It was a weird card because there was like a canceled fight earlier, or there was a DQ. It was some weird thing, maybe with Bruno Silva or something like that. I think that's what it was. Bruno Silva like knocked somebody out, if you can believe it. Okay. Or something weird happened, and I ended up with that. And what's going on with Sergey Pavlovich? It reminds me of, again, what I was saying about some of these other fighters. Okay, like he had this, this big reputation. He got the Curtis Blades KO. Then he got wrecked. Okay. And people are going back to that fight and saying, oh, he had Aspinall in trouble. I don't remember it that way, quite honestly. And then he got just totally owned by Volkov in like a no volume, just abysmal freaking performance, perhaps less abysmal than his horrible performance against Yair Rosenstruck, where he just got nothing done as well. So you have this guy coming into China who's, I think, like kind of on a decline, is just kind of over it almost. Like all of his mojo was just kind of taken away from him with the Aspinall knockout. And he's going against this dude, Waldo's Cortez-Acosta. And I know what people think. They're used to, like, okay, everybody thinks that Waldo Cortez-Acosta, he's the same guy who he fights Chase Sherman and Jared Vandera and like the worst of the worst. And okay, great, he beat Lucas Brzeski. All right, the fact of the matter is that this guy is on the way up. This guy is the only one of these two guys with any cardio, honestly. This guy is the faster of the strikers. He's the only one with wrestling upside. And I completely agree. Okay. I think that he is clearly the one to play. I'm actually, not to get into the betting piece, but if you want something to do, I'm actually going to play him by like round 3 KO or something. And that would be like the ultimate like humiliation. You know what I mean? Like to put all of this together, it's probably getting plus 4 million to 1 or something like that. And not to mention that Pavlovich is going to be popular. Okay. I mean, you look at his inside the distance line, it's still going to be minus 110, right? He always is, right? So people are going to get to him. They're going to play him. So you get leverage. You got a guy who people don't have a lot of respect for because he came up, fighting the worst. Okay. But what did he do wrong? You know what I mean? Like he really did nothing wrong along the way. And now he's here against the guy who's on the way down, I think, traveling off to China. He's over it. And you have Acosta coming in. He'd go fight to the freaking moon to fight someone like this, So I don't know. I completely agree with you. And I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, whenever I get up, and I'm going to have a ton of Acosta on this card.
Oh, wow. I love it. That's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'll probably end up betting Acosta now. I love to hear that. I was
especially when our DFS lineups are dead.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll get my money back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's a great matchup for him. Just avoid those big bombs, and I think he wins.
I didn't realize you were the anti Pavlovich lean. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I'm anti-power only. Like when your best chance at winning is knocking the person out, I'm not usually picking that person. I'd rather see the person who can win skillfully over 15 minutes rather than I have big power in my hands.
All right.
So that's like just my style in general.
So what do you think about Aljo in 5 rounds with 30 minutes of control time at 40% ownership? It's hard. It's I don't know, man. I like it. It's like I do like it. I don't think Brian Ortega is going to be able to deal with what Sterling brings. I think that Sterling is live to get booed a lot during this fight, but at the end of the day, you get 5 rounds of Sterling wrapping his arms around you. I think Ortega's in for a rough go here. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I'm going to have to get to Sterling just because of all that control time upside and all this stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at in that fight.
I mean, I do think I'm going to kind of get away from that fight a little bit. I do think Sterling would be the better play. He's the guy who could put up a big 120 plus. We got 140 in the chat. I mean, that would surprise me, but he could do it with 5 rounds. Aljo's the guy on this card. If anyone's going to do it, Aljo is the guy. But Ortega's most dangerous area is his jiu-jitsu, and I don't know how much Sterling really wants to test that, especially early. I would guess that his game plan is to go out there and test out the striking, and if the striking's going your way, then don't put yourself in danger on the ground. But if it's not, then sure, go out there, test out your wrestling. You're going to be the better wrestler, and then just avoid the submissions from Ortega, and you should be able to grind out this fight. But I think Ortega is just nasty on the ground. He could be on his back and submit Sterling. So I don't know how much grappling is going to take place in this fight for that reason. I don't know that Ortega
if you believe Sterling came right out and said that he's not going for takedowns.
Really?
He came right out and said it's going to be a striking match. So I think that he's totally lying. But that's last time he tried that, Sean O'Malley destroyed him. So
yeah, if this is no Sean O'Malley,
no.
This is who you would prefer to strike against. But I do think a striking match could be close. And in a striking match at these prices, I would prefer Ortega.
Yeah.
So I think my preferred play is just to kind of go away from it. Let all the ownership go to the field and hope that it is mainly a striking match. And that's how this fight doesn't end up on the optimal lineup. Sterling wins. He scores 85 points in a unanimous decision. I think that's super live to happen. So I don't have it as a 5-star because I'm not going to play it like a 5-star. I would rather play that Nuraji Crosby fight. I would rather play the main event. But I'm also okay getting exposure to either side of this fight. It would be the Sterling side for the ceiling, or the Ortega would be if you need to find an underdog in your lineup.
Well, the other thing is that, you have 2 5-round fights. You probably don't want to have both of them in big GPP lineups. You probably want to get away from one of them. So, if you're going to play the main event, maybe you're right. Maybe you should just kind of avoid this and hope. You know what could happen? What happens, like you said, if Aljamain Sterling, gets what he wants and he gets like 92 points in his win or whatever, and he doesn't go for all of his all the ground and pound. He just tries to wrap him up, like we said, and then you get freaking the hero of the day. You get the local hero of Zhang come in and dust Hubbard at 107 points at the same price. At 1/80th of the ownership. So maybe you're right. Maybe of the 2 main events, maybe this is the one that you might want to fade.
Yeah, I think so, especially with this minus 1,400 inside the distance line on the next one. Fight ends in round 1 is minus 200 on some sites. I just think that this main event's not going to last long. We have Zhang Mingyang coming in as a minus 305 favorite against Johnny Walker, plus 255. Mingyang is somebody the UFC wants to build up. This fight's in China. The crowd is going to be going crazy for him. He's coming off of 4 straight UFC knockout wins, I believe all of them in the first round. Walker's had multiple knockout losses. I do think it is a knockout or bust type of fight for Walker because I think Mingyang is the better striker, but it's not going to matter because I think there's a knockout either way. Both these guys should be swinging heavies, and I just don't think it's going to last more than 1 round. Mingyang to win in round 1 is minus 135. When I'm hand building, he's the first person I'm clicking on. I think he's going to get 105, 110, or he's going to get that quick win bonus and be a lock for the optimal lineup. I'm never a Walker guy. He's kind of like my original Pavlovich. He had power in his hands. He had the death touch. You can't go in there and get touched by Walker or else you're going to lose. When that doesn't land and you turn out to just not be that good of a fighter, that's what I like to fade. So I'm not going to be playing Walker with my single entry. It would be Mingyang. But if I'm making 20 lineups, I'm probably going to be like 15-5 or 16-4, still very heavy on the Mingyang side and probably all in on this fight. But I don't think you have to make a rule for it because if it's not a first round finish, maybe Mingyang's not on the optimal lineup.
Yeah, see, I kind of teased this a little earlier. There are fighters that can get that first round knockout and score 102, and guys get 130. And this dude's a freaking animal. Okay, like when he'll get the knockdown in this fight if he gets it, and then he'll have like 94 more significant strikes before the referee gets a chance kind of to get in there. And Walker, I hate to be narrative, but it really just feels like they said, Johnny, here's a bunch of money. Go to freaking China, take your freaking beating, in front of the home, in front of the fans. It's good for the promotion. It's good for the worldview, and we'll do you a solid. And I really just think that's what's going to happen. I think Mingyang is going to go after him and he's going to murder him. You know what I mean? Like, I just think I think he's literally got like 110 point floor in this fight. Now in DFS, you're gonna have to play some Walker just in case, right? Just in case he knocks him down and then gives him an illegal knee and you get a first round DQ out of Walker somehow or something like that. Can you imagine if the judges in China like DQ'd Mingyang for an illegal knee? There's no way, right?
No, not China, no way.
But let me make a couple of cases. All right, let me just make a couple of cases for Walker just for the hell of it. So Mingyang Zhang is not like 100-0. Okay, he's 19-6, and he does have like 6 losses. Now you are going to have to go back to when he was like 5 years old, I think, for these losses. But nonetheless, he's gotten KO'd like 3 times and subbed once. And the fact is that in none of his fights, that at least I've seen, he's encountered like a shred of adversity. Okay. So I don't know what this is going to look like if, God forbid, Walker gets a good shot off, So I am going to be forced to play some of Walker, but make no mistake, I am going to have a ton of Mingyang. And so I don't know if I'm going to end up with 100%, just because I very rarely get 100% of anything. But you're going to have to, I hate to say it, you're going to have to hold your nose and play some Walker if you're playing GPPs. Just like I said last week with DDP, like even though I thought that Chimaev was obviously an incredible play, you just kind of had to play the other side because he was only like a 2.5 to 1 underdog, So like, here's the thing about this fight. All right, let's look at another way. So what are the odds in this fight? 3.5 to 1 for Mingyang. So what does that mean? That means that Johnny Walker wins this fight like 22% of the time. I mean, whether you like it or not, like whether you believe it or not, that's just reality, So if I told you that 22% of the time, a guy who was not going to be that highly owned against the most popular, probably the most popular fighter on the slate is going to win and probably going to score a ton also, you're probably going to have to play him for that 22% if you're playing.
Well, we just lost Sheets right as he was going on a rant. Hopefully he comes back. But if not, this is a good time to talk about the SHIPIT games, which Sheets did donate a little bit to with his MLB qualifier win. We have $79,000 we were giving back to the community here. Oh, there's Sheets. We got him here. There we go. Go ahead and continue, and I'll get back to this. You're on mute, though, or something's going on. Can't hear you at all. No, I can't. Can't hear anything now.
Hey, got you.
There you are.
Right, boom. Yeah, I guess the technology gods didn't like my Johnny Walker take there at all. Just my whole point was that I mean, 22% of the time he is going to win, and not that this is the end of the story, but I don't even know if he's going to own 22%. And you're certainly going to get the most popular fighter on the slate on the other side of it. So in GPPs, you're just going to have to play.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And especially if it's going to be a phone booth type of fight, why not take the 20% guy which it could end up being closer to 40-50 if it is a phone booth type of fight and these guys are just throwing to go for the knockout. And that could be how this fight goes down. So I'm definitely fine with Walker if I was MMEing. If I end up going one lineup, it's for sure the Mingyang side. But the more lineups I have, the more Walker I'll end up getting exposure to. I think this one will be over fast, and it'll be fun to watch while it lasts.
Yep.
But yeah, as I was saying, we got these SHIPIT games. We're giving away almost $80,000 back to the SHIPIT Nation community. One of the members will make over $20,000 cash along with other prizes. I think $10K plus for the next prize. Ton of prizes given out. SHIPIT Nation, the best place to be. I do believe this early bird offer might have ended today, but still, best site to sign up at. There's no better place to be. We got All Sports, and we're crushing at All Sports. Tambo and Hoop will have you covered. Go check out their video on the SHIPIT games, and you guys can learn more about that. But $80,000, and it's going to keep growing throughout this NFL season. They're going to have a what's it called? Wildcat entry each week, the 3-3-3, and each win will be added to that a portion of it. So it's going to keep growing. A lot of money given back to the community. Go sign up. Ship It Nation. Thank you for coming on, Sheets. You have any last words you want to give out before we hop off of here?
Yeah, don't be afraid, again, to play the guys that you haven't heard of. Don't be afraid to play the guys in the first fights. And it depends on what type of person you are. Like, if you want to sweat the fights, then obviously, listen, this is for fun to some degree. You know what I mean? So play what you want to play, whatever. But as far as ownership and things like that, don't be afraid to play these random guys, because randomness is good in UFC, So and if you're gonna play the big field GPPs, I wouldn't play both main events with, say, who's like Pereira. He's gonna be popular. Even that first fight underdog could end up being popular. Try to get a little bit different. I think you've talked me into a little bit of this, maybe fading that secondary main event fight. Just be a little more creative. Now, for me, and this is going to turn into kind of a promo. For me, I kind of let SaberSim and the Sims and other little techniques dictate who I end up playing. So I keep my biases out of this a little bit. When the big buy-ins happen, that's when I do my stuff. Like I'm totally playing Acosta, for example. I will guarantee you that in my 555. Okay, it's just going to happen. But when it comes to the lottery stuff, I found that using something like SaberSim that could take your biases out of this and really try to find you low-owned shots is probably a better idea than trying to hand build.
Yeah, I agree. When I'm making just a couple lineups, I always feel like I have to hand build. But when I'm making 20 or more, I love putting it into SaberSim and just taking all my biases away. I do think that's the way to go, and it is fun building lineups over there. So even when I do hand build, I always start over there in SaberSim, see what it spits out if we're on the same track. But yeah, we'll see how this one goes. A 3 a.m. start, especially when I got to go up to Michigan. I don't even know if DFS is legal in Michigan. I got to research this stuff before I head out of here.
How can it not be legal in Michigan if Hoop is there?
That's true. Hoop lives there. Yeah. What am I thinking? I'm an idiot. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely legal. I remember last time I went there, I had some issue where DraftKings locked me out of my account. I don't know if it was the betting side or if it was just from going Indiana to Michigan, being on when I was in Indiana.
So what is this all about? It's a retreat at like the Hoop compound or something, and a lot of like events and powwows, or what do we got? What do you got planned?
We're going to the Live Team Championships on Saturday.
Nice.
Sunday. Yeah,
nice.
So we'll be out there. If anyone's out there, look for us in our probably Ship It Nation gear.
We got Ryder Cup coming to New York in a month. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that will be fun. New York, man. New York's a wild city. It's everyone there is in a hurry, man. So I guess I'd prefer Michigan for this weekend, I guess.
Speaking of which, I got to get out of here.
All right, yeah, man. Hey, good luck to you, Chief. Thanks for coming on. Good luck to you. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it. We'll see you guys next time.
I'll see you later, man.